tutorial on graphing log functions. I'm going to start you off with a really simple one. So we have log base 3 of x, but remember, we like to say that as, what exponent do you put on 3 to get x? And the answer happens to be y. So let me write that down. 3 to the y gets us x. Let's make a table and see what we can get for points on our graph. Now we're usually choosing x's and then finding out what y is. I think it might be easier to test out some y's because that's the exponent. Let's choose, let's try 0 first. So let's say our exponent is 0. What is 3 to the 0 power? It is 1. Let's go with 1 as an exponent next. What is 3 to the first power? It's 3. How about 3 to the second power? That's 9. Excellent. Let's graph these points. 1, 0, 3, 1, and 9, 2. Now remember in class how I said you can't take log of a negative number. So let's say I had x was a negative 1. That would mean that y is undefined. Because 3 times 3 times 3, however many times, is never going to get you a negative number, right? So, that's exactly why I'm going to draw a vertical asymptote right along this y-axis. So we have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. Because we also can't take log base 3 of 0. I'm just going to draw in my curve. It looks something like this. It gets very, very close to that. And I hope that that looks like the inverse of another graph that you know, which is an exponential graph. This is actually the inverse of 3 to the x equals y. Now, we're going to try moving this graph around. So here we have a new log function. Notice it has the same base, but we have an x plus 2 instead of an x, and we have a minus 4 at the end. So I'm hoping you remember that if you have something like this, x plus 2, that actually moves the graph left 2, and this minus 4 at the end is going to move it down 4. Let's just rewrite. Now maybe you don't need to because you already have it on your page, but I'm going to rewrite the table for the log base 3 of x graph. So remember we plugged in the exponent, right? We plugged in y. We tried 0, 1, and 2. And we got 1, 3, and 9. So I'm going to take these 3 points and my vertical asymptote, I'm going to write VA for short, which is at x equals 0, and I'm going to move all of those things left 2 and down 4. And here I go. I'm going to start with my vertical asymptote. It was at x equals 0, that's the y-axis. I am now moving left 2. That would put me at negative 2. And if I moved that dotted line down 4, you'd notice it would just be on top of itself. So when you move a vertical line up or down, you don't even notice it. So we've done the vertical asymptote. Excellent. Let's move on to our points. So we had a point at 1, 0. I'm going to move it left 2. 1, 2, and down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. At negative 1, negative 4. Excellent. Let's do the same thing with the point 3, 1. 1, 2 to the left and down 4. Right there. At 1, negative 3. And the last one, 9, 2. Left 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're at 7, negative 2. And we're just going to draw it the way we did before. Get it nice and close to that vertical asymptote. And just remember, I could ask you things like, what's the domain? What's the range? When is this graph increasing? When is it decreasing? What's the vertical asymptote? All those things. So in class, we'll be trying those. See you then.